time for another edition of Mase in Your Face. Now, along with college football immortality, Glen Mason, here's Dan Barrero.
Mase in Your Face is back, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm back, baby.
So
Here I am.
you lasted in Florida, what was it, like 8 days?
No, week. Wednesday.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That was enough? Because, I mean, there are people saying right now, wait a minute, I have access to my own place in Florida with this weather, and I'm coming back after a week. They don't know you, do they? They just don't understand you.
Well, I know that. Well, there's a lot of things that people don't understand about me, but I don't know. I get a little, I probably the longest that I've ever stayed there at one time might be 2 weeks. It was probably 10 days.
That little? I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. And then,
just like Louis.
And, the thing about it, now, I'm not a native Minnesotan, as you well know.
Yes.
I think I've been here long enough. Some people say, well, he's one of us. Unlike Jerry Kill that left, he was going to
be here for life.
And he wasn't. But anyway, I don't know why I brought that up.
I have no idea either.
But the winter, a lot of people say to me, how do you deal with the winter in Minnesota? I don't mind the winter.
You don't? That's true. You've made that clear.
I embrace it. I don't jog anymore. But, I used to run outside every day in the morning and
5 a.m., right?
Well, 5:30, quarter 6, and whatever the weather was. Now I can say this: I embrace the winter. I hate the spring. The spring that really isn't
a lot of false
and when
starts.
I'm talking about, you put the TV on and the Masters is on, and you look out the window and say,
fleeting.
"What country are they in?"
Yeah.
I've had enough. Then that's when I like to go play. I got to say one other thing about Governor Carlson.
Sure.
I talked about going over there, but every once in a while, I would get out of a meeting and my secretary would say, Governor Carlson's in your office. And, the first time that happened, I thought, uh-oh, and I went in there. You always have the door shut. And I'd open the door, hey, how you doing? He'd be sitting there, what's going on? He said, I'm just hiding. Hiding? I said, hiding from what? He said, just hiding, and sit down. And he'd want to talk, when I say about the team, he wanted to talk about the individual players. Mm-hmm. And I was always amazed. He didn't have any cheat sheet in front of him or any of that kind of stuff. You could tell he was a diehard fan because he knew from watching the games that he knew guys.
Yeah.
And amazing to me that, he'd ask things like, well, what's he studying? How's he doing in grade? What kind of family does he have? I mean, he was about the person. And I was really moved by how much information, knowledge he had about the individual players.
Yeah. He is, as there are politicians who are kind of fake fans and they
really?
try to glom on, right? But that's,
you mean like in Indiana? I mean, they're hopping on the bandwagon now, like
including
big time.
me.
Yeah.
He's a rube. He is a sports rube. I mean, this is a guy who watches stuff. And it wouldn't matter if he was governor or, just Arnie Carlson in business, whatever the case may be. So he still is. He's still talking about, he go for basketball, and he's in Florida now, obviously, but he watches pretty much everything. So you're right. I'm not surprised to hear that for him, probably it was a little bit of refuge from the meat grinder, from the political meat grinder.
That's what I meant, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
Just a little break where when he says hiding, that's probably an exaggeration, but to sit there and it wasn't there that long, but let's say 20 minutes where no one's coming in saying, we got a problem. How about this? How about that? I mean, just to have a conversation.
You sure he never had some play ideas, or he said, Glenn, I've been working on this. I think this is a flea flicker play you ought to consider. He never did that kind of stuff?
He never did that.
That's good. Because that's what you don't want, right? No. That's what makes you roll your eyes as a coach, when the politician.
I think you're playing the wrong quarterback. No.
Yeah, just kind of hinting at that. Right. All right, we talked about it at the top of the show, but let's stay with it to get your reaction to it as well. As you probably know, earlier today, the feds charged 20 individuals in a point-shaving scheme that involves 39 college basketball players with 17 different Division I teams. By the way, their other 5 defendants are described as fixers. 4 of the players played for their current teams even within the last week. A massive scheme, according to the U.S. Attorney, David Metcalf, that enveloped the world of college basketball. Your thoughts?
Well, this is not new to college athletics or pro sports. You know that. I mean, there's been cases of this in the past. I think Boston College had a real famous one number of years ago. But on this show, Dan, we've talked about a lot, and the biggest threat to any sport is if the fans think the fix is in. It's been proven, and my concern is momentum's been building on sports gambling to the place where I can't even believe it now, where all the betting that takes place on the phone. You know, where you can bet on the next pitch. Is it a heads or a tail? Who's going to catch the next pass? It's crazy. I think you're ruining a lot of lives because some guys can't handle that gambling.
Yeah.
You know, they get in the hole and
question.
they think you keep going. But I don't remember the year, but when I was the president of the American Football Coaches Association, there was a group of us that went to Washington on a lobbying group about trying to prevent college sports being on a sports book because of these problems that we're talking about. And we went there about 3 days, and we all had a lobbyist that took us around.
Yeah.
And there wasn't one politician that I talked to, not one, that didn't say, I would support a bill against that, but you've got no chance. Why? And they all said the same thing. Harry Reid. Harry Reid's the speaker,
that's
and
right.
he's not going to bring it up for a vote.
Yeah.
And that's the first. I thought one guy has that much power. He can prevent that when it would probably for the good of the sport, and the multitudes would want it. He could prevent it. But I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. So much money's involved, and I think certain sports are more susceptible than others. You know. So I think it's a sad state, and I hope it's not the tip of the iceberg, but I think it is.
All right, let's get our first pause in, get back on schedule. Glen Mason kind enough to join us in studio. It's Mase in Your Face. In addition, we also had just been talking to former Governor Carlson, so they had a nice crosstalk conversation at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. So we'll get back on schedule. We've got the national championship game to preview. We've got some other stuff, I'm guessing, stuck in Mace's craw. He'll let us know if he's got any new backpack misadventures on his most recent travel to and from Florida. Mase continues next.
Spend an evening with Jeff Foxworthy, known for his signature You Might Be a Redneck jokes. Don't miss out when the Grammy-nominated legend takes the stage at Treasure Island Event Center on March 14th. Secure your tickets today at TICasino.com for a night of laughs.
Jack's Cafe helps bring Mase to you each and every week. He is with us in studio right now. I want to give you this nugget that you'll get a kick out of because I think historically you've been so bored with these particular rankings. But for whatever it's worth, the last 20 national championship teams had at least 2 top 10 recruiting classes in the 4 years prior to their winning season. And the question they ask is, can Indiana break the streak? Here's Indiana's Rivals ranking, team recruiting rankings for the last 4 seasons. 53, 60, 59, and 29. And what's the moral of that story?
Well, the moral of the story for me, I never cared about those rankings anyway. I mean, I used to think, well, who's doing it? That's like the guys that you see on TV, Mel Kiper and Todd McShay, the expert. I just say, if they're that good, some NFL team would hire them if they think they know that about that deal. But, you know, I was thinking, Dan, I remember when I used to have conversations about college hockey with guys like Lou Nanny, that knew, and other guys. And I used to say, what I don't understand is the University of Minnesota with the facilities and the backing and the draw and everything, how do some of these other teams compete with them? Bemidji State,
right.
St. Cloud, whatever, okay? And I'm not saying anything bad about those places, but I'm saying
yes.
And what I was told back then, which kind of made sense, well, you know what happens is Minnesota gets the cream of the crop. They get the best players, no doubt. But the problem is they're so good, a lot of them leave early, go to the National Hockey League.
Yep.
Now, the other teams, they don't get those guys. So they're around for 4 or 5 years. So then when Minnesota has to play these guys, they're older and maybe a better team, not talented.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think it's an anomaly what Indiana, no one's ever seen this before. Fast. I mean, from what they were in 2 years to now playing for the national championship. And to the credit of Signetti and Indiana, man, they like what they taste right now. They're pouring it on, and it's not quite the same as recruiting, but I watched these guys going in the portal and you see some announcements, and I've really been amazed how many Big Ten players, I assume good players, starters from other teams, they've entered the portal, and where are they ending up? Indiana.
Dangerous?
Very, very dangerous. Dan, how many times did you ask me on this show, how did I get along with the Big Ten coaches?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, good. And they said, is there anybody you didn't like? And I said, well, I like some more than others, but no, I never had a bitter feeling. But I tell you, when you start talking about losing a player, going to another team within your conference, and if you think he was tampered with, wow. I'm going to tell you, those Big Ten football meetings, there'll be a bloodbath. There'll be fistfights. I'm telling you. They're competitive guys. And there was a rule historically, for a long time rule, that if you were on a scholarship at a Big Ten school and you went to transfer and went to another Big Ten school, you could never be on scholarship. And the reason was back in the old days, maybe pre-World War II or after World War II, you saw some players, they played for multiple Big Ten teams. Why? Well, the guys recruited them right off the teams. That's what's going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I get your point on that, although part of the problem now is like the Big Ten's so big, if you're transferring, you almost can't help but end up with another Big Ten. I mean, in the case of Parrish, for example, he's going to Oregon.
Yeah, why do you think we wouldn't have problems in this conference? We keep saying Big Ten,
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, come on, they can't count.
So what do you make of what does the Parrish move tell you? Should it be concerning? Is it just part of the deal? Everybody's facing it now? Or what? No, given the buildup with him.
Yeah, is it concerning? Yes, not just because of him, but that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, you might not like what's going on. You better get used to it. Deal with it, because that's the rules of the game right now, and you're seeing it all over. It used to be, you guys used to give me a hard time. Oh, you lost a player from in-state. You tell me a school that doesn't lose a player from in-state. One size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
And right now you see a number of players.
I would never do that. I would never admonish you about something like that. I don't know what you're talking about. It might have been Royce.
But you see players leaving high-profile teams where you never saw them leave. The number of guys that are entering the portal at Ohio State or at Alabama or wherever, and they're on their way for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe the information leaks out and someone's getting more NIL money or more money than the other guy, or you think you can get more money here. They've ruined it. I'm telling you, the experience is ruined. Dan, I was thinking this when the governor said that. I remember when pro players, by former players that would be playing pro football, and they making a lot of money, driving a nice car, and they come back, how you doing? They'd say, oh yeah, how do you like pro football? Well, the money's good. It ain't the same. It's not the same experience, the camaraderie and the learning experience and the relationships that you built when you play on a team with a guy for 4 or 5 years. You think back, and I know a lot of listeners, maybe they didn't play college, but they'll think about, oh yeah, the guys I played high school football, they're still buddies. That's gone. It's like pro football now.
Is there not an asterisk, though, regarding those ratings, because as a couple texters remind us, and we've talked about this before, you do have a lot of players who are transferring now. For example, Indiana gets a great offensive lineman from Notre Dame. Now, the QB wasn't that highly regarded out west. I'm going to give them full credit for that. It's easy to say now because he's played so well, but it wasn't like the whole country was clamoring over him then. But they have added some players that way, which has to be factored in when you're talking about, whether your recruiting class was in the 40s or the 50s, whatever. If you're getting pretty prime talent from other schools as part of your success, that's not everybody at Indiana, but that's a few of the players.
Well, there's no doubt. I would say that Mendoza is the Brock Purdy of college football.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Brock Purdy, what he's doing with the 49ers, he's the last player picked in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. You imagine that? And you look now, all the players that are still along in the playoffs, I think maybe the lowest player other than him was Josh Allen. He was the 7th pick in the draft.
Right, yeah.
Okay? And this guy was 262. You know, a lot of guys in between there. But I'm going to go back, and I've talked about it before because I believe it. What Indiana's doing right now, they aren't the most talented team out there, but they're the best team. And they have the right pieces in the right places together. And I think Signetti's done a great job. They're not worrying about their NIL. They're not worried about that for right now. Maybe because they haven't been there before. Indiana hasn't been there before. So every moment right now is like Christmas, for them. But I heard the interview from the center that was at Notre Dame, and he had still year eligibility. He's thinking about going pro football. And the coach, the line coach at Indiana, who's been a Big Ten guy, he's been around. I think he used to be at Wisconsin.
Absolutely right.
Was that?
I was reminded of that today by Chip Scoggins, who got to know him really well back in the days he was at Wisconsin.
So he was at Wisconsin, a good line coach, and Bolstead, I think his name is, right?
Yeah, correct.
And he called him up and started talking to him, and I don't know, and he wasn't that interested. They got Signetti on the phone. He said, but all of a sudden they started talking about the NIL, and that closed the deal because I think the NIL would have been more money he was making pro football his first year. And he became a key player. Now I can tell you this. To me, again, awards. I know Iowa got the Joe Moore Award, best offensive line in the country. I know you got a real good center. How they give that award, I don't know, because you have to, normally you think about an offensive line. Man, could they run the ball? Look at their statistics, how they ran the ball. Or they had a good season, but they didn't have a great season. Who's got a better offensive line than Indiana? I mean, man, those guys are really, really good. I mean, they play together. The one thing about the offensive line, you judge them as a unit.
Yeah. No question.
It's different. If in the run game, if 4 guys are blocking their tail off and one guy's missing a block and you can't run the ball, but he says, they can't run block. Pass protection, if you have 4 guys doing a great job, one guy break it down, they say they can't pass protect. They're a unit, and they've got a great unit.
Is Indiana at this point inevitable, unstoppable, or is Miami a legitimate threat to rain on the parade?
Well, you got the number 1 seed coming in and the last guy coming in. But you'd have to think, the old saying about either team's getting better or getting worse, it's never staying the same. You have to think, I'm not saying that Indiana isn't that situation, but you have to think that Miami is on the on the rise. They really are. And they've got talented players down there. I don't know. It's hard to win that many games in a row. And you think about Mendoza, he's got more touchdown passes in the playoff than he does incompletions. 8 versus 5, right?
Yes.
I mean, come on. Sooner or later, you got to think that he's going to have a little hiccup here. I don't know.
That's what I was wondering, because the sad thing for Indiana fans is something that seemed, just a pipe dream now is viewed as, we got to win it. Well, they'll be devastated if throughout this whole coronation, you get to that game and somehow you lose it.
Oh, there'll be some guy like you if they lose it to say, "Oh, Signetti's good, but he can't win the big one."
Here's what I will say: I would reconsider the contract extension at that point, make him earn it.
Oh, you may take it back.
It's probably a little late for that.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
very, very late. Did you see what Wall Street Journal actually wrote a story about the only lunch that Signetti eats every day for like 5 years?
Yeah.
Chipotle, and it's chicken, beans, rice, and nothing else, and a side of guac. Nothing else on it, none of the other fixings, which is kind of like me. Now, I don't do the beans, but I do nothing else, no sauces, and I'd put a little bit of cheese on there. So now I got to have a bowl on game day, don't I? On Monday, a Chipotle bowl?
Well, I think Signetti's probably going to be doing an ad for Chipotle or something.
He should,
you know? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
They'll have the Signetti bowl or something.
Do Hoosier fans have to worry next that that the pros might come calling, or is he the quintessential college coach?
I don't think they have to worry about that. I think, what is he, 64 years old?
I think that's right.
64 years old.
Yeah.
You talk about if you go to a place where really you become the program, you become the legacy. If he wins this next game, first of all, he's going to have a statue out there in front of him.
Should.
And no, I think he's there, and I don't know. I mean, when you're 64 years old, what does he say? Maybe on a coach to 70. You know, you don't see many guys go. In the old days, you didn't see him go that far, but you're making that much money, you don't walk away from it. And I think right now that I'm not going to say Indiana is going to be this good every year, but I think in the near term, your dad's Indiana, you're not going to see anymore. Winning 2-3 games a year, They're going to be better than that.
Yeah,
and to my point, because this used to kill me on this. Remember at the beginning of the year, all the writers were making fun of his non-conference schedule?
His non-conference schedule
was awful. And he said, wait a minute, I'm just doing an SEC schedule. But they're still killing him, okay?
They were.
No one's saying it now.
Oh, no, because
you know why? And I give him credit. Because you have to have a plan.
Yeah, no question. He does.
Plan.
He does.
And in Indiana, that would be the plan for why in Indiana trying to do what he's doing right now. Why would he want to, play Texas as a non-conference
team? All right,
team?
let me ask you another question, looking ahead. So the word is he's getting everybody he wants in the portal. So presumably those are maybe including some more, quote-unquote, highly rated players than before. Is there any danger that as he ascends to this place that it might be too easy to walk away from whatever the secret sauce is, which obviously isn't just great talent, it's the right talent, and he ends up getting too seduced by, I have access to this guy and this guy now? Well, yeah, those are the best talented players. I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly. It's got to be a right fit. A coach has got to be a right fit for the program. And a player's got to be a right fit for the program, and the program is dictated by the coach.
Yes,
And I don't know everything that they do down there right now. It's really working, but every year is a new chapter. You got to start all over again. And just because you had everything working perfectly doesn't mean that next year. And I like when he said, well, it'd make a good movie. Sure it would. I mean, it's so refreshing. This Mendoza kid, a quarterback that's, really being able to play. Don't you like when he gets interviewed after the game?
Yeah.
It's not about me.
Right.
I mean, he's trying to give credit to everybody else, from his parents to his teammates to his coaches to the university. And you really get the feeling that what he's saying, he means.
Wonder if any chance you think the Vikings could move up to get him? Oh, wait, we got J.J. McCarthy. I forgot.
You never miss an opportunity to get that zinger in there.
Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah. Well, you're not naive to this. They can't bring him back alone. They got to have an option besides J.J. McCarthy. He can't stay on the field.
Yeah. Well, I'm just a a fan like everybody else that has an opinion. But I always thought, and you know this because we talk, I don't know all the particulars about salary cap and all that stuff.
Right.
But when Darnold was going to leave, and all my dog park people
said good riddance.
They don't know anything, okay? We got JJ. I said, wait a minute. He ain't played yet. You know, how many guys do you see come right out of college and play well? And I know every year, it seems like about every third year, somebody will list about the quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round. And just about every year, about a third of them aren't even around anymore. It's hard. So it seems that there's always the exception where a guy comes right out of college and steps in.
It happens every once in a while.
But there's more of those stories where a guy came in and he's talented, and he got to be the understudy for a couple of years.
Takes time. Often.
And then step in and let it go.
Yeah, very, very true. So are you picking Miami in the upset?
It's too early yet. It's only Thursday.
Well, the game's Monday.
No, you know what? I'm going with Indiana.
You've stuck with them throughout.
I'm maybe not thinking of a brain in my heart. I just like that football team.
You are rooting for the story.
Well, you know what? I appreciate team.
Yeah, it's a team.
And I appreciate coaching. And when I watch that team, they play together as a team. I'm not a big guy that showboat stuff. They don't do much showboat.
They do almost none of it.
No.
None of it.
I mean, I really appreciate that. And Cignetti, he's the coach, but it's just like Mendoza, you don't get the feeling like, oh, it's all about me.
You're right.
The most egotistical thing he said, which from day one, and then they forgot about it, was when they said, why do you think you can turn this program around? I win. Google me. And you thought, well, there's a guy with it.
Yeah.
But that's not really him.
No, it isn't. Yeah, he's a worker.
Yeah.
There's no question. And the other thing that strikes me about this team, among good to great teams, they might have the lowest doofus factor I've ever seen in a team. In other words, they just don't do anything stupid.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Not just celebrating.
But that's
everything.
coaching.
Yes, there's no question.
I mean, that's, I always, the certain things when I coach, okay, I'll give you an example. Some teams you go watch practice, you'll see a fight break out in the field. I never let fighting.
Yeah,
because I always thought if it happens in practice, why is it not going to happen in a game? Or guy messing around because we had zero tolerance for celebrations. Yes. And in practice, every once in a while, a guy go in and do something in practice. Don't harm them. No. If you let him do it there, why isn't he doing it? I'll tell you about fighting. When I went to Kent State, and the program was terrible. It was terrible. And I went out there, every day there was a big fight. They couldn't beat anybody, but they'd fight like heck, And I even had one of the coaches, my defensive line coach, would say, you maybe get your own team. So I would talk to him. So one day, a fight broke out again. I said, that's it. Got everybody up. I got the two guys up. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do up downs, you two guys, until one guy quits. And then the guy that's still standing won the fight. Okay? And it went on it was terrible. Last fight we ever had in practice.
The point was made.
Yeah, because you could lose a game.
Yeah, that's it.
And there's certain teams, they seem like they always make that dumb mistake.
Even good teams, some good have that fall into that mentality. You're 100% right. That's true. And I think some of them think they can because they're good, and they go, we'll be able to overcome it, but not when you're playing other good teams. All right, one more break. We got one more segment. Mase in your face. Don't forget Tom Crean, another former college coach, is going to join us at 5:02.
Never miss your chance to know what the latest sports news is in town. Chances to win tickets, knowing what's going on with all of your favorite KFAN shows. You can follow us, KFAN 1003, on all the social channels, Instagram, TikTok, X. Stay connected. Follow the sports leader, KFAN.
This comes in from the 651 area code. Tara and I have a date night reservation at Jack's Cafe on Sunday night. Hope to see Mase in your face there. Why don't you join them and buy them dinner?
No.
I
thought they were inviting me.
Well, maybe they are. Maybe that's something you can do Sunday night. And then I think The gracious thing to do would be to say, dinner's on me.
I'm not very gracious, you know.
Well, Mase said you never pay for anything. I should say you're Mase.
Who?
Louis said you never pay for anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's
Fact
what he
versus
says.
fiction?
Is that fact versus fiction?
Yeah. Yeah. That's. I told you Louis' motto: "You're first, right after me." So that's how that goes. I love the guy. Don't get me wrong.
You don't have any chic stories like he did, right? The other day.
Well, maybe no. I'm. Hey, everybody's up to their own. I don't like those places. I don't. Never been comfortable. But when I was first here, they used to have an event, some type of fundraiser at the old Mac. Okay, I forget. I don't know if it was boxing. I think it was boxing.
Boxing or wrestling.
They had a ring up there, and everybody come up and it was a deal, a fundraiser, and someone took me. And I was first in town, and we got done, and they said, "Come on, we're going." I said, "Where are we going?" I said, "We're going to Sheik's." I said, "What Sheik's?" They told me, I said,
Are you nuts?
I'm not going.
Not going to work.
And they put a lot of pressure on me, but I'm pretty good at saying no when I went. I said, "No, I'm not going." And I didn't go.
Probably a wise.
How dumb is that person to think that that's a good idea to bring the new football coach?
Well, they took Louis.
I know. Louis didn't have the same spine.
Yeah,
Louis. The dancing bar.
I don't
Louis didn't
know
know where he was headed. He thought it was a dancing bar. That's what he told us.
That's what he called it.
Yeah.
A dancing bar.
Well, remember, he's from the Sioux, remember?
Mase in your face.
That's very, very true. You're 100% right. Anything else? Do you want to talk anything else, college or pro? I mean, maybe you have... You watch games, you watch everything. So anything.
Well, I don't know. I was watching that Bears Green Bay game, and I gotta admit, I turned the TV off.
You gave up.
I just watching the game, not a fan, and I turned it off. And I got up in the morning, I looked, I go, "Are you kidding me?"
So that's when you first found out in the morning.
Absolutely.
That's insane.
I couldn't believe it, but I think that it's interesting how I think the NFL used to play 12 games back in the old days. And now there's 17 games.
Yeah, they were 14 for a long time, and now
I think it used to be 12.
I think you might be right.
And then 14, and now
it kept going up.
Now it's 17. You know they're going to go to 18.
Yes, they are. It's inevitable.
But my point, when they play in Chicago, the Bears on Sunday, which I think it's January 18th. And I still got a couple of weeks to go.
That's true.
I mean, you're living dangerously with the weather. I mean, I'm not just talking about cold weather. It could be a disaster. So maybe that's why more and more pro teams, they're going to go to dome stadiums. I don't know what's the final thing with the Chiefs. Did they decide on going to Kansas?
I haven't heard that. I know they've been flirting with them, right?
They're going to move over to the other side, and then Cleveland's moving from downtown, right? And they're going to have a dome stadium, and I think the Bears, they're still thinking about going to your hometown.
My hometown.
Gary, Indiana.
How excited would I be if they land in Gary?
Let me just tell you that. You can write it down.
Okay. If
the Bears end up going to Gary, Indiana, that might be the biggest swindle ever. There are got to be some people taking some big-time payoffs.
Well, but they might give them a good deal.
Yeah. Now, people don't understand that comment. You do.
I do.
I tell you, if you ever go from Chicago and you're going east and you go across the tollway and you get into Indiana, when you get off there, you are in Gary, Indiana.
That's true.
And it's the steel plants or whatever they are, and it's
they're kind of drying up.
It's a tough town.
It's an extremely tough town. There's no question about that. Yeah, it was who knows? I mean, the weather, as you say, is supposed to be very lousy. I love those games that are not in perfect conditions. The comeback from some fans is, no, I want to see the conditions in which you can see all of the skill that the player has. And I'm fine with both kinds of games, but I like the cold weather games. I like snow games. They're rare, and maybe that's part of the reason I like them, but I grew up thinking football was a game that really wasn't about who had the greatest skill, but who had the greatest skill in sometimes challenging conditions, right? To me, that's what football at its best, at its purest, that's what it means.
My first memory of pro football.
Yeah.
Okay, growing up in New Jersey, someone took me to a Giants game when they played in Yankee Stadium. And the first thing I remember, because it was cold, really cold, and the snow flying, a bunch of guys would be around those 50-gallon oil drums that fill with wood on fire.
Yes.
Drinking cheap wine out of a bottle. I remember that.
Yes.
And then you go to the game, and they still had the infield,
That's true.
And it wasn't plush like it is now. But, man, and the game was brutal, and the fights in the stands were more brutal. It was I have a vivid memory. But to your point, you know what? TV likes late-season NFL games in cold weather because a lot of people that used to live in cold weather now live in Florida, Arizona, wherever. And those people like to turn on the TV and reminisce. Remember what it used to be like to live like it in those places.
Different era, that much is for sure. Meanwhile, the ratings, again, they're just, NFL is undefeated. It's just they're just print money.
No, the NFL, those people know what they're doing. The NFL owners are very smart, very rich, very powerful business guys. And there's a reason why the commissioner makes $40-some million and flies around in a private jet, because he makes a lot of money. He makes decisions behind there. But they don't miss a trick. When you think about even, and that's one of the tough things that I think that when you're in a pro town, like the Gophers are, and compete with them, you can't compete with them. You know what I mean? From that standpoint.
Correct. That's tough.
You're here, and the local networks, every night they have a report
every night
from practice.
Yes.
I mean, guys don't even have pads on. They're out there reporting, what's going on. And what they do and how you have to compete for the advertising dollar and all that stuff. You go to U.S. Bank Stadium, the naming rights, U.S. Bank, But I go there. I joke all the time. The only thing that doesn't have naming rights in that stadium is the urinals in the men's room.
Yeah, that's coming.
I mean, they do, and I'm sure if they hear it, it's going to say, "Geez, we missed that one. Let's do it."
Well, we've talked about before what the greatest disadvantage I think for any college football coach, football or basketball, frankly, in this town is you're in a pro town, and the disadvantage of you're competing against everybody. There's not the sort of built-in base. Maybe there was back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s before other pro sports were established, but there ain't now. And obviously in campus towns, you have the advantage of you are the show. You are the story in that town. And that's always been a disadvantage to coaching college here. I don't think there's any question about that.
But, the thing about it, there was a day when college football was a lot bigger than pro football.
Absolutely true. It wasn't even close.
It wasn't even close. Yeah. It was an afterthought.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people out there, the younger people say they can't believe that. It was.
Demonstrably proven. Good to have you back. Good to see your smiling face. Thanks for coming in early and saying hi to the governor.
Yeah, it was great.
And we'll chat next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Mase in your face. And as I said, maybe I'll go to Jackson, hang with that couple and buy them dinner. Who's to say?
Nuts?
Let's come back and chat with another former college coach, in this case, college basketball coach, Tom Crean, on your Timberwolves. He is